Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. We've made it to the end of the week, and we're going to be talking about several storm systems here on this video. We're going to be talking about the snowfall in the Midwest and the Great Lakes early this weekend, and we'll be talking about a major storm system set to bring a tornado outbreak, a blizzard, and very high winds across the middle of the country as we head into next week, followed by a polar vortex that will make its way into the United States going into the third week in December, and the long-range weather forecast here at the very end of the video. If you guys are new to the channel and have yet to subscribe, hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates here on this channel. I cover the United States, Canada, and the tropics, and everything in between. So hit that subscribe button down below and the notification bell to get everything that you need here on this channel. So looking here this morning, we got winter weather advisories, even some winter storm warnings across portions here of northern Iowa, getting into southern, southwestern Wisconsin, southern Minnesota, getting into southeastern South Dakota, and extreme northeastern Nebraska. That's that swath of light to moderate accumulating snow that we'll be seeing here through the next 24 to 48 hours across the upper Midwest and the western Great Lakes. So you can see that snowfall here starting to spread into southern and southwestern Wisconsin through the morning into the afternoon today. That will be moving across portions of central and southern Lake Michigan here, especially the northern suburbs of the Chicago area, and then getting across Lake Michigan into southwestern portions of lower Michigan, getting into this afternoon. That will spread eastward here towards portions of Lansing, Kalamazoo, getting into the Grand Rapids area in Michigan, and maybe even extreme northwestern Ohio as well as we head into this evening. And then that will start to move off to the east and weaken considerably as we move into Saturday morning. Looking here at that snowfall swath across the upper Midwest and the western Great Lakes, you can expect here some decent snows, especially into northern Iowa, southern Minnesota, getting into south central Wisconsin, around the Madison, Wisconsin area, back toward Prairie du Chien, up toward La Crosse, and then getting back here toward Dubuque, Iowa as well. And kind of zooming in to show you the snowfall amounts, pretty impressive. We got some 2 to 4, maybe even isolated 5-inch amounts here across south central Wisconsin, getting back through northern and northeastern Iowa, extreme southeastern Minnesota, and maybe a couple of inches here along that Highway 20 corridor across portions of far northern Illinois. And then some of the snowfall will spread a little bit farther to the east across portions of southwestern lower Michigan. It does show a half an inch here. I do think a couple of inches will be possible across southwestern lower Michigan, especially near the lakefront here in Michigan as well as we head through the next couple of days. But we have that major storm system we're talking about here moving into the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast going into the Saturday timeframe. A very large trough digging down all the way across portions of California, Oregon, and Washington. That will continue to bring lots of mountain snowfall and some very appreciable beneficial rainfall across California, getting up into the coastlines here of Oregon and Washington state, and definitely seeing that here in the higher elevations, that snowfall with those cooler temperatures. But then the lower elevations, it's really going to be too warm for any snowfall here for the most part, especially here into coastal California, getting up through the coastline here into Oregon and Washington state. That's where we're going to see more of those heavier rain showers. But every once in a while, we could be seeing those snow showers mix in here as well. So going through the day today, that's really when we're going to start to see a lot of this moisture move into the Pacific Northwest and much of the West Coast. Lots of heavy rainfall. And again, in those higher elevations, we'll start to see more of those heavier mountain snows as we head into portions of this evening and this afternoon. That will continue through the day on Saturday. Again, a heavier rainfall is going to be very persistent, especially into northern and northwestern California, all the way up the coastline here toward Portland, Oregon, into Seattle, Washington. But again, in those higher elevations here, we're going to be seeing those mountain snows filling in through the day on Saturday. That will continue through Saturday afternoon. And eventually, we're going to see some heavier snow setting up for the Sierra Nevadas going into Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening here this weekend. And again, looking at the Sierra Nevadas in particular, we're seeing lots of heavy snowfall. Over 2 feet of snow is on the way over these areas here as we go through this weekend. So definitely some beneficial snowfall for the Sierra Nevadas here as we head through California going through this weekend. And again, very heavy rainfall here. You can see up in the far northern and northwestern California, very heavy rainfall amounts over 3 inches. There could be locally up to 5, even 6-inch rainfall amounts across portions of northern and northwestern California, really right along the shoreline there of the Pacific Ocean in northwest California. Looking up here to the Pacific Pacific Northwest here. Lots of heavier mountain snow, especially in those higher elevations here towards central Idaho, getting back into portions of Washington State, Oregon State, and northern California here on the northern Sierra Nevadas. Yeah, again, over 2 feet of snow, especially in those higher elevations in some spots. And then the very heavy rains. We're in the lower elevations where it's a little bit warmer. We're going to see more heavier rainfall. And that's where we could be picking up several inches of rain here from Portland, Oregon, up through Seattle, Washington, and especially down into northern California, where we definitely need the rainfall, and we're going to get several inches here in these spots, really averaging around 1 to 3 inches here from Seattle to Portland, Oregon, and then getting down to northern California. Again, I think about 3 to 6 inches would be a good bet across those areas. And that's some good news because there is a lot of drought in these areas that are seeing the heavy rainfall here the next several days. You can see in the oranges, the reds, and the maroon colored reds, that is actually severe, extreme, and even exceptional drought across portions of California, Oregon, and Washington. So definitely some beneficial news, some beneficial rains and snows to kind of refill the moisture supply in that area going through the next couple of days. But this trough's going to continue to dig down into California and into Nevada as we head into the day on Sunday. That will continue through the day on Monday, finally moving into the Four Corners and the desert Southwest, getting into Monday afternoon, and that's going to send a cold front farther to the east through West Texas and the western Great Lakes as we head through Monday morning, eventually pressing through the Great Plains as we head into Monday evening. And that's where we see that strong mid-level jet here, that 500 millibar mid-level jet rounding the base of this trough, with this trough initially being positively tilted. I'm not expecting a huge severe weather event on Monday, but we could have some isolated severe storms here on the nose of this low-level jet across Oklahoma, getting down into North Texas and Northeast Texas on Monday evening after dark. But ahead of that, we're going to see a lot of warm air here. The warm sector is going to be opening up with temperatures in the 50s, 60s, and even some low 70s out there from Texas to Oklahoma and even up into Kansas as well, going into the Monday afternoon, Monday evening time frame. And those dew points are going to be rising in a big way as well. Dew points rising back into the 40s up here into Kansas and Nebraska. But farther to the south, dew points will be rising here into the 50s and 60s here in Oklahoma, Arkansas, getting into portions of Louisiana, especially Texas, going into Monday evening as all that moisture starts to advect northward from the western Gulf of Mexico into this area. The good news is the Storm Prediction Center has actually revised the day 4 outlook to actually remove that 15% or slight risk that was issued yesterday on the day 5 to day 4 has actually been removed. So that is some good news, but we still do have to be concerned about some isolated severe weather. We still got that formidable low-level jet here pumping in all that moisture, all that instability from the south, and again that mid-level jet here on the nose of that. We could be seeing some isolated severe storms rounding the base of that trough going into Monday evening. And looking at that here, what the radar could look like going into Monday late afternoon, early evening hours around the dinner time frame. We're not really expecting too much, just some scattered showers, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder from Kansas getting down through Oklahoma and into central Texas here. Not too big of a deal. As we head into the day on Tuesday, especially after midnight, we could start to see some isolated showers and storms, and even starting to see more numerous storms develop across portions of central Oklahoma near the Oklahoma City area, getting up toward Tulsa, back toward the Wichita Falls area here and west of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex going into Tuesday morning. Some of these could be severe, mainly just large hail producers, because it's going to be more of an unfavorable time of day for much of in the way of damaging winds or tornadoes, but we can't rule that out just yet. So we'll still have to watch for all three hazards of tornadoes, damaging winds, and hail, but I do think the hail threat will be a little bit more prolific with these storms as they're coming in during the overnight hours. And that will actually press eastward here as we head into the morning hours on Tuesday. But as we get into Tuesday, that trough will start to slowly eject its way into the central plains as we have a developing surface cyclone, a low pressure system across portions of the central Nebraska area as we head into Tuesday. And you can see a 993 millibar low pressure center here somewhere across the northern plains, across northern portions of Nebraska, southern South Dakota, going going into the evening hours on your Tuesday. That will send a very strong cold front from west to east across the southern and central plains. And the Storm Prediction Center has actually maintained that 15 to 30% shading there for a slight to even enhanced risk for severe weather, really centered on southern Arkansas and northern portions of Louisiana, and then getting back into eastern Texas here with that slight risk as we head here into that Tuesday into Wednesday morning time frame. And again, it's all due to this warm sector. It's going to be moving its way northward. This surface cyclone with that low pressure system is going to be deepening across the central plains, pulling up all of this warmth. Temperatures will be rising to the 50s and 60s out there. Dew points will be rising farther to the north. We could have dew points into the 50s here into central and southern Missouri, so you'll start to feel a little bit more sticky out there, a little bit more humidity. And again, those 60-degree dew points will be farther down to the south in that enhanced risk area across southern portions of Arkansas, much of Louisiana into East Texas. So we'll continue to watch that as we head into later on Tuesday. But again, this is when this trough will start to take more of a negative tilt as we head into Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening. And again, with negative tilted troughs, that's where we see the most prolific severe weather events most times, and definitely seeing a very strong mid-level jet here in the 500 millibar layer rounding the base of this trough as we head into the afternoon and evening on Tuesday around a 90 to 100 knot mid-level jet. We have a very prolific mid-level jet as it moves a little farther east as we head into Wednesday morning, strengthening even more during the overnight hours. So that will be moving over those areas into Arkansas and Louisiana during the morning on Wednesday. And looking at the low-level jet, that 850 millibar low-level jet is going to be very formidable across portions, especially of Missouri, Arkansas, getting down to East Texas and Louisiana. But farther to the north, this will be a wind machine as well. We're going to be mixing down some of these winds here from the low levels toward the surface. So we could be still seeing some 40, even 50 mile per hour wind gusts with some wind advisories up here across portions of Minnesota, getting into Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois. But this low-level jet will be feeding into that tornado threat, which could be upgraded. We could be upgrading this threat to a moderate risk. We'll see what the Storm Prediction Center does do with this, but it does look like they'll be upgrading potentially here in the day 2 outlook as it gets closer here towards that Tuesday timeframe to a moderate risk. We'll just have to wait and see. But looking here Tuesday afternoon, we have that squall line continuing to press to the east with embedded supercells, damaging winds, large hail, and numerous tornadoes will be possible from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex on eastward here toward the Arklatex and the Dixie Alley region, and that will continue with that squall line, widespread damaging winds, large hail, heavy rainfall, frequent lightning, and yes, some numerous tornadoes are possible as we head through Arkansas, getting into Louisiana and even western Mississippi, getting into the overnight hours here after dark. So you do want to have ways to get watches and warnings out there here, whether it's on a mobile device such as a smartphone, a laptop, desktop computer, anything you can do to get watches and warnings, definitely do so out there. And then again, this will spread a little bit farther to the east during the morning hours on Wednesday toward the Ohio, Tennessee River valleys and much of the deep south as we head towards that time frame. Looking on Wednesday, they have a 15% shading or slight risk across southern Mississippi, southwestern Alabama, the northwest Florida panhandle, and also portions of New Orleans as well could be in on that slight risk for severe weather going into the day on Wednesday into Thursday morning. But looking here at the next 7 days, it's going to be producing lots of rainfall out there as well across much of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and much of the Deep South, especially in these purple and red shaded colors. That's at least 2 inches of rain, if not locally higher than that. So definitely lots of rainfall out there, averaging around 2 to 4 inches of rain. Some spots could see, 5, even 6 inches of rain, especially if you can see storms moving over the same areas here as well. And again, looking across the West Coast from Washington down through Oregon here in the coastlines, all the way down here into northwestern and central California, we're going to be talking about heavier snows and heavier rains out there as well going through the next 7 days. But behind this storm system here on the northwestern side, we got that colder air starting to move down from Canada into the northern plains on the cold side of this system, and that's where we're going to be seeing those heavier snows with those blizzard-like conditions as well across the Dakotas, getting into Minnesota and Nebraska as well, and that'll be spreading a little bit farther west here toward the north central Rockies into eastern Montana, getting into Wyoming there. And looking at the snowfall amounts, they're going to be pretty impressive across portions, especially into the Dakotas, into Minnesota here, and then getting into northern Wisconsin. In those purple shaded colors or those pink shaded colors, we could see at least 6 inches of snow there, according to the European forecast model. A little bit more aggressive on the GFS model, showing some areas getting up to around a foot of snow, but generally over 6 inches across much of the Dakotas, getting into Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. And then the same holds true with the Canadian model or the GDPS model as we head through those very same areas going through the middle of next week. We're going to have to worry about those blizzard conditions because we got those heavier snowfall rates, possibly of 1 to 2 inches per hour, and also those stronger winds from the north and northeast on the backside of this low pressure system, and that's going to be kicking up some snow. You could have some snow drifts, some stuff to worry about here with the snow flying around here across the roadways, across the Dakotas, getting into western Nebraska here as we head into Tuesday evening. That will continue through the day on Thursday as well, and so after the snowfall has stopped, we could still be seeing those ground blizzard type of conditions here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see any blizzard warnings and winter storm warnings here soon coming out from these local national weather services as we get closer into that time frame on Wednesday and Thursday. But then after that, we're going to be talking about lots of cold air, guys. We're going to have that polar vortex dropping south from Canada, and this is going to be the big story going into the end of December here. We got that starting up here as we get toward late next week. We got those colder anomalies showing up across the northern plains and the Pacific Northwest. This really takes hold across the north central United States and southern Canada, for all the way from British Columbia to Quebec. We could be talking about lots of cold air out there, especially even farther south into the upper Midwest and northern plains going into early next weekend. And then that continues into the following week, that third week in December, going into that Monday, December 19th timeframe. Even stronger push of air all the way south with that freezing line toward the Gulf Coast and into central Texas and potentially northern Florida as we head into the early of the following week with those cold temperatures. So looking here at those high temperatures, yes, high temperatures going into Saturday, December 17th, widespread single digits, if not near zero for high temperatures into the north central Rockies, all the way up here into portions of British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. A lot of these temperatures will be in the single digits and teens out there on Saturday. That continues on Sunday with even a stronger push of air from the polar vortex farther south on Sunday, December 18th, with below zero high temperatures across much of the southern Canadian provinces here from Western Ontario through Manitoba, through Saskatchewan, Alberta, and even British Columbia there as well. And that will extend farther south into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Montana, and even Wyoming with those below zero temperatures possibly as well for daytime highs. And again, those 30s and 40s here being found across much of the deep south and the Gulf Coast. Will be chilly across these areas going into next weekend, and these are the wind chills out there. Yes, we may need wind chill advisories to be hoisted across portions of the Dakotas and Minnesota, and especially farther north into the southern Canadian provinces going into late next weekend. We could have wind chills around negative 20, even negative 30 degrees out there Fahrenheit, so that will be something to keep an eye on as we get a little bit closer toward that time frame. But with all this cold air moving southward, we definitely have to watch that storm track. We got that stronger subtropical jet still taking over as we head across the southern and southeastern United States, going into that weekend here, next weekend, and into the following week, going to the third week in December. And that could assure us with more precipitation across southern California this time, getting into southern Nevada, much of Arizona, southern Utah, and that will spread its way eastward toward much of the Great Plains and even the Gulf Coast states here. We could be even seeing some snowfall with this. With all these cooler temperatures, I would not be surprised to see any snowfall into the panhandle of Texas, into Oklahoma, getting into Kansas, maybe even down into New Mexico and Colorado as well with this setup, and that will be something to watch going into that third week in December. And looking at this again from an ensemble perspective, yes, we have that strong subtropical jet here across portions of the southern and southeastern United States moving up through the East Coast, and it's not out of the realm of possibility as we get closer towards that Christmas time frame that we could be talking about a nor'easter or even a stronger snowstorm of some sort originating across the southern plains and then kind of moving up across the mid-Atlantic and maybe off the coast here, off into the western Atlantic here, bringing those heavier snows potentially across the northeast as we get a little bit closer toward that Christmas Day time frame going into the end of December. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you appreciated it. Again, if you like this video, drop the like down below by giving it a thumbs up. That's that thumbs up button. And again, leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. And most importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks to all the new subscribers out there. And also hit that notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Have a great Friday, everybody. A great rest of your weekend. And I will see you all in the next video.